So, thank you very much for coming to this short talk. Can I change my organization? So, when I started or proposed the slides, I had a certain idea what I wanted to say half a year ago, and I did a test run of the session in our local user group, and everything went fine. But then I came here to the ACCU conference, and I started to talk with other people, what they're accounting, what they're happening, or what they're seeing in their own organization. And I said, whoa, I have a problem. Because I have much, much more that I should say, but that I can say within this short 15 minutes. So there are much, much more problems, and I will just cover a very small part of it. So some words for about me. I'm developing software for some time. I started as a freelance developer, and later on I'm working as a programmer at Mebis in Germany, and we're doing medical devices, and I'm now for 15 years on a product for breast cancer detection. And since for 2 years I'm a member of the ACCU conference committee, so if you have any questions or things that you think we might improve or comments, whatever, come to me or to the other colleagues of the committee and give us feedback. We really need it so that the next year might become an even better conference. So, question, who is okay with everything in your company? Well, nobody. Well, who is not okay with everything in her company? Everybody. Okay. So, I make certain things quite short in this amount of time. So, what are potential problems that you see, or that I've seen? Certain amount of processes that you have to follow. Some of these processes make sense. For instance, we are working in a regulated environment, so we have to follow certain procedures regarding quality. So, and we cannot deviate it. It's just a question how we read the standards that we have to follow, and that we just do it as much as we think it's necessary. Of course, we have to do the minimum, but there are companies who are doing much, much more, and then it becomes a real pain. So, but there are other processes that you might have in your company that you really hate, and that you you question yourself, why am I doing this? And if you ask your boss, yes, we did it all that time. Great answer. So diversity might be a problem in your company. I'm in the luxury that we don't have this problem. So we have people, I think, from 15 different countries. Even if we're a very small company, we're just 120, and we have, I think, from 15 different countries. And in the development group, we have, from my point of view, a really high grade in women compared to many other companies. But this might be a problem. Another thing is, I think, mutual understanding. And this covers many things. So it can be the understanding within your small development group, so within your Scrum team, or in which team you ever develop. It might be a problem that you have between you and the other team, so that there's some kind of current or fight for certain resources, for whatever, because the other teams might have their own agenda, and which is perhaps not in line with yours, so there's some kind of conflict. Or there might be the problem of the understanding, so you have your own agenda, and your boss have a different one. So you want to deliver high quality code, but your boss tells me, no, this is far too long, you are writing much too many tests, and you have to deliver this in half of the time. But this may be just because he got information, or he got the request from his customer. Well, that's way too long. It costs too much money if you deliver this feature 2 months or 3 months later. So this is another way of problem that you might have. Craftsmanship is another thing. Different people think of different things of craftsmanship. So how you develop software. And this is a way where I wanted to focus at the moment in this talk, how you might bring better code to your product. So the other things, I do not want to say that they're less important, but this is something I cannot cover in the remaining 10 minutes. So, what might possibly block us for getting rid of these problems? Tradition. We did it always, though. We don't change this. If you're new, for instance, if you're coming new to your team, and you're asking, why are you doing this? Well, we did it always, so that's the way as we do it. The other thing is that certain people might fear that certain things change. And other is comfort. You don't have to move yourself, you just go from 8 to 5 and just do your programming, and you don't want to move out of your sofa, and I don't know what you say in England, couch, whatever. So like sitting in front of the television and you don't want to move. But the other thing is, it might be lack of knowledge. It might be that the other colleagues don't know certain things because of whatever reason, or it's a matter of training. So, several years ago, we started looking in our company the training videos about clean code by Uncle Bob. And during that time, I wrote him an email and I asked him, could you give me an advice how I motivate my team more to try something new, but it does not hurt to learn something new? And I got a response. It's a longer email that he responded. So, and the most important thing is, you can't convince others to do what you don't do yourself. So you must be a role model. You must do the things that you ask the others to do. And changes like this take a longer time, but never fear that they will be made. They will. Over the time, the older habits fade away and the newer values grow to dominate. So, how to be a role model in a company of developers. And when I'm talking about developers, I'm not talking about only the coders. I'm including, of course, testers, specification specialists, and UI specialists, all those who work together in a team. So, is this too small for the back rows? I see this and this. Okay, I'm very sorry. I will read it. I'm very sorry. Code behave the better way always. So start doing it yourself. So if you have a certain way of designing or structuring your code, don't tell the others, you have to do it that way, don't do it that way. This will not work. At least that's the way I tried it and it didn't work. So you really have to do it by yourself. And the next thing is suggest improvements in code reviews. So when you are doing code reviews, don't accept everything what they say. Of course, if they want to criticize the code, always just on facts. Don't, are you stupid? You cannot do this that way. That really doesn't work, and it shuts immediately down any kind of conversation. Why don't you think, or couldn't we do it in this way? This might have this and that advantage, for instance. The other thing is, I love books. I don't make so many pictures as Kevin does, but I love really my books. And I have lots of them, and especially technical books. And I have to admit, I have not read all of them, but I have read the most important things for me on them. And I started to bring them into the office. And our Scrum Master saw that well, what you're piling up on your desk. Well, why don't we just buy a bookshelf? So we ordered a bookshelf and put it in a very prominent place in the office. Everybody who's come into the office just went directly to the bookshelf, and then the people started to looking at the books, and we buy new books. And I think that was a very good idea. What we as well started a tradition of what we call dev talks. So development talk, but it's not only development talk, of course, tester talks and everything together. And perhaps just for our group or for the other groups in the company as well. And sometimes it's hard to convince your colleagues that it's about a new technique or a different technique. What I did, I pick up videos from conferences. At this point, it was, the example I have in mind here, It's a talk by Sean Parent. It's called No Raw Loop. He did it several years ago, and it's a brilliant talk about using algorithms. And I showed it in the group, and it's so convincing. From that point on, the number of raw for loops dramatically reduced. And on top of this, I started what I call the algorithm of the week. Every time I saw in the code a for loop, I removed it, replaced it with an STL algorithm, and gave just a slider or two slider in the next dev talk. Well, this is the old code, this is a new code. And so in this way, I introduced the colleagues in our code the new routines, or this much better routines. Of course, encourage others to speak as well. But here's the problem. We have several people who are really afraid to speak in front of a group. So even if they're already for 15 years in the company, they are really shy to speak in front of a group because they're afraid that they make a mistake. So I think at that point it's important that you give those, or that you try to give those, an environment that they can't speaking in front of others. It doesn't have to be a speak or a session about half an hour or an hour. Just 5 minutes, what they reached or what they achieved in the last sprint, or what they changed or what they have learned. It's a great way to get those as well engaged into the complete. And the other one is encourage others to visit conferences. But not only send them there, but convince them that's a good thing, and then let them talk about it, so that they bring new information from the outside into the company. It's a great thing. Is there more? Yes, there's one thing more, which I'm very addicted to, and I already did a lightning talk several years ago. It's called Convince Your Management that you need something like Google 20%. So I was many years ago at a conference, and Scott Petriconi gave a keynote about the source or the root of innovation. And from that on, with this information back in our company, I convinced our CEO, why not do we try something like that? They were really skeptical. Well, 10 to 20% of our working time into anything? I said, give it a try. And we did it for, I think, 2 or 3 months. And the result was enormous. So many great tools or improvements in the process, in the development, or sometimes long-standing bug fixes, because they were a little too expensive or they was ranked very low. But some kind of, we have in Germany saying like paper cut things. So things is really annoying and you really want to get rid of them. But the priority is so low that they don't get fixed. Such things were done. And there's another thing. It's a quote which I want to use at the end. As our business grows, it becomes increasingly necessary to delegate responsibility and to encourage men and women to exercise their initiative. This requires considerable tolerance. Those men and women to whom we delegate authority and responsibility, if they are good people, are going to want to do their jobs in their own way. Mistakes will be made, but if a person is essentially right, the mistakes he or she makes are not as serious in the long run as the mistakes management will make if it undertakes to tell those in authority exactly how they must do their jobs. Management that is destructive, critical, when mistakes are made, kills initiative. And it's essential that we have many people with initiative if we are continue to grow. Anybody knows or has an idea from when this is?
Kennedy in the 60s.
Pardon? No, definitely not Henry Ford. No, that was from 1948. It was made by William McKnight, the CEO of 3M at that time. It was when he realized, or he turned down an employee that wanted to experiment certain things because he had an idea from a car company. And he turned him down several times. No, we don't do this. We don't. We just do, I think at that time, sorry, they were doing completely different things. Sorry, I forgot the English word for this. But then, at the end, he had an idea and prototype and went to the car companies, and they were excited about it. And what this employee invented at that time were Post-its. So it's a real great story. So get your CEO or whoever is there involved and try that you get something like 10% or something like that. We have 10%, so every second Friday, it's called Crazy Friday, and the people are doing reading books, looking at video, reading blog posts, whatever they want. But often great things come out of it. So that's, if there are further questions on anything like that, or if you want to discuss other things, you're welcome. I invite you to come to me. I'm here until Sunday morning. So thank you very much.